1, 2, 3. We're still waiting for Aaron. Leslie? Okay. Well, there's 4 out of 5 of us here. We'll go ahead and reconvene back in open session, Mrs. Rohrback, at 5:51. Okay, and then we'll Mrs. Ham can join us as soon as she's ready. We have nothing to report out of closed session. So at this time, will everybody please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? Ready? Salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands. Well, there's 4 out of 5 of us here. We'll go ahead and reconvene back into open session, Mrs. Rohrback, at 5:51. Okay. Thank you. Mrs. Ham can join us as soon as she's ready. We have that your Leslie? Closed session. So at this time, will everybody please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? You got it, Leslie? Are we good?
I'm not sure.
Ready?
I
Salute.
hear it.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands. Well, there's 4 out of 5 of us here. We'll go ahead and reconvene back into open session, Mrs. Rohrback, at 5:51. Okay. It's just replaying. Okay. Mrs. Ham can join us as soon as she's ready. We have your Leslie? Closed session.
I know.
So at this time, will everybody please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance?
I got it.
Okay.
It was our YouTube live was playing on my computer delayed. So my apologies for that. I just turned the volume off.
Thank you, ma'am. All right. We'll move on to approval of the agenda.
I move to approve the agenda.
Thank you, Tiffany.
I second the motion.
Thank you, Aaron. Motion's been made and seconded. Any further discussion on that? Seeing none, we'll call for the vote, please.
Leslie, I'm a yes, but it's just prompting me to log back in, so
I'm waiting
I'll do
for
that
it.
for the next one.
Okay. Mr. Valadez?
Is he off, Leslie?
It looks like he just went off.
Okay.
Shall I mark not president vote? And so we can.
Yeah, let's do that so we can proceed. Thank you. And the motion carries 4-0. Thank you very much. So we're going to move on then to the introduction of the new staff. And we'll start off, Mrs. Ballinger, you'll be taking that.
Good evening, Board President Lopez, board members and cabinet. Normally tonight would be the night that we would be looking at all the smiling faces of our new hires. But in the virtual world, we have a virtual way to do that for you. So I'm going to share a presentation with you that we've put together. I need to thank Brooke Thompson for helping put this together and gathering all these photos so that you can still see some of the faces. These are all new people who are new to the district. So I want to start off with Atwater High School. And we have Sean Davis coming back to Merced Union High School District as an administrator. He'll be an associate principal at Atwater High School. We have Hannah Green and Jared Reyna joining us. And Hannah will be an ELD teacher and Jared will be a special ed teacher. Sandra Duran Robles and Tracy Alexander are also joining the Atwater team. And Sandra is a math teacher and Tracy is an English teacher. At Buhat Colony, I wanted to recognize our classified staff who were hired over the summer and joining us. And we have Ginger Esparza as a cafeteria helper, Noel Martinez as a custodian, Amber Lee is an instructional aide, and Naomi Romero will be a cafeteria helper. Joining their teaching staff, we have Justin Souza, who will be teaching math, and Scotland Snyder, who will be teaching earth science. They also have Aaliyah Ricks and Amy Valenzuela joining them, and Aaliyah will be teaching health science, and Amy will be teaching special ed. And then lastly for Buhat, we have Ryan Shima, who will be teaching social science. Next up, we have El Capitan High School, and we have Brett Nicholson and Christian Salcido joining them, and Brett will be teaching special education, and Christian will be teaching art. They also have Haley Eagleton teaching mathematics, and then Jasmine Duran will be teaching PE. They also have John Villa and Michael Solis, and John will be teaching social science, and Michael will be teaching special ed. And lastly, for El Capitan, we have Maria Ramirez, and she will be teaching math. For Golden Valley, on their admin team, they have a new school psychologist joining the district, Michelle Abella. And then for teachers, they have Madison Zittel and Kayla Rodriguez. Madison will be teaching agriculture, and Kayla will be teaching PE. Mason Jackson will be teaching music for Golden Valley, and Kiana Jackson will be teaching English. At Livingston High School, they have Antonio Rodriguez joining their admin team as a school psychologist. And for teachers, they have Alfredo Gaona, and he'll be teaching English, and Jose Perez will be teaching ag. And then they also added Nirmal Kaur, who will be teaching Punjabi. For Merced High School, they have Hunter Gibson and Brittany Andruski joining them, and Hunter will be teaching English, and Brittany will be teaching agriculture. Heather Harvey will be teaching agriculture, and Jerry Saturn will be teaching math. They have Marcus Mendoza and William Alexander, and Marcus will be teaching special education, and William will be teaching English. Merced High also has Jade Solis teaching social science, and John Holgren teaching agriculture. And Sequoia High School has Matthew Smith joining them to teach agriculture. And lastly, Yosemite High School will have Leticia Marin joining them as a campus liaison official. I want to point out that 19 of the 32 teachers that we hired are Merced Union High School District grads. So as always, we are very proud to see our grads coming back and joining our team. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Ballinger, and we'd like to welcome all of the brand new hires to the Merced Union High School District. And we look forward to seeing you at tomorrow's day one of the teacher induction program with Mrs. Carrillo and the induction team. So once again, welcome everyone. Thank you. Thank you, Mrs. Ballinger. We'll move on now to the general public comment period. And Mrs. Rohrbeck has a couple of comments that were submitted to her. So I'm going to have her go to read those comments. Leslie, please.
Okay, the first comment was submitted by Norma Partita. She commented, my son is missing a third period class on his schedule. He is signed up for water polo and what she was attending practice until it was canceled. My question, because this happens every year and now with the corona, I know it will be much harder for him to get the classes he is signed up for. He is a senior, has an IEP, and needs help in getting the right schedule. If you can please make this an easier transition for us. He is stressed, and thank you, gratefully appreciated. Just to note, I did reach out to Mr. Jolly at Livingston High School and had him have one of his staff members contact Mrs. Pardita to help her. The next comment was made by Jeremy Rosenberg. And Mr. Rosenberg's comment is, the lack of planning on behalf of the district office personnel and district leadership team has been unacceptable. Teachers and employees have been off for months and there has been very little knowledge of how fall 2020 will be any different than spring. The district leadership team has failed to get ahead of the situation and the board has allowed it. Teachers are in this profession for a reason, to serve students, and they cannot do their jobs when they are being held up by district administration. Teachers should not be blamed for the lack of planning by the highest paid professionals of the Merced or of the district office. Why does the board fail to see the shortcomings of district leadership? How will fall 2020 be any different than the emergency type situation?
Did we lose her? We lost her, right? Leslie, oh, she froze. Leslie,
Can you hear me now?
we lost you like 2 sentences ago.
Shoot, it says my internet connection is unstable. So Tiffany, I'm coming to your house.
Hotspot, Leslie.
No, you're not coming to her house.
I'm connected, you guys. I made a change.
Okay, so do you want me to read the whole thing again or?
I think just the last 2 sentences, please, Leslie.
Okay, teachers should not be blamed for the lack of planning by the highest paid professionals at the district office. Why does the board fail to see the shortcomings from district leadership? How will fall 2020 be different than the emergency type situation students, families, and teachers were forced into in March? Wi-Fi for all students is not the mere answer.
Thank you, Leslie. And is that it for a public comment period?
Yes, it is.
Awesome. So just to remind the board that I will be stepping away here shortly, but I did prepare a statement myself as part of the public comment period. So here it goes. Good evening, everyone. I want to begin by acknowledging all teachers who wrote me and us emails about the safety concerns and reporting to work to teach from your classrooms. In these times of uncertainty, we wanted to hold on to the possibility of reopening, even if it meant in a hybrid model. Well, that didn't happen. We began formal MOU negotiation talks about a month or so ago with exchange of language in the MOU to best meet the needs of everyone in our system. We do want everyone to be safe, but we also want to see what we can do to bring back some form of normalcy. Adults need it, our kids need it. I know many of you want to be back in your classrooms, and some of you don't feel safe yet. We respect that. And the language in the MOU allows for those of you with health conditions the opportunity to teach from home. I, like some of our board, would like to have more transparency in the negotiation talks. I feel that sometimes we tend to muddy up the process by not keeping everyone informed, and that's on both sides, with the up-to-the-minute conversations on the MOU talks, and that causes many to feel uninformed as to what's been discussed. We understand that negotiations follow a formal process, but we need to see about adjusting that. It shouldn't always be about us versus them. It should be about all of us working together. To Mr. Puss, DTA, and the district admin team, I want to thank you for the work in TAing the MOU today. Additionally, Mr. Puss, I want to publicly apologize to you and the DTA for not granting you the opportunity to have your comments read aloud at the last special meeting. In times such as these, we need to sometimes bend the rules. As much as we want to follow a structure or a process during normal times, we should also be flexible when things such as the pandemic come to the forefront, because these aren't normal times. Nonetheless, I am glad that we have reached an agreement with our DTA and possibly our CSEA, and we can now focus our efforts on teaching and learning and hopefully reopening our schools soon. Thank you very much, Leslie. So Mrs. Pickle, I'm gonna go ahead and turn the meeting over to you. Leslie, if you can please forward to Tiffany, Mr. Puss's DTA comment so she can read that aloud to the board tonight. And then I'll rejoin in a few. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Ms. Lopez.
Tiffany, you have those comments, don't you?
I do not have, I have the comments from Mr. Pest, yes.
Okay,
That
and,
I have.
and you have CSEA also?
I do not have that one copied, no.
Okay. If I forward it to
Yeah.
you, can you read it off your email?
Yeah, I can do that.
Or I can read it, I guess,
Yeah,
if that
either
would be
one,
okay.
either one, yeah. Okay, that's all we have for the public comment then?
Yes, it is. And actually, so we move to the reports and discussions. I'm sorry, yeah, reports and discussion now.
Okay, so we have item 11.01, the learning continuity and attendance plan, LCAP update, and I believe that's Dr. Aguilar.
Hello, thank you and good evening. I'm going to take a minute here and I'm going to share my screen. So if you'd bear with me, please. All right, everyone should be seeing my screen, I hope. Okay, over the course of the next couple of weeks in August, I will be meeting with groups and stakeholders. And up to this point, I have met with students and provided them an opportunity to give me feedback about the learning continuity and attendance plan. I will be meeting with parents, community groups, District Teachers Association, and the California School Employees Association within the next couple of weeks. The expected outcomes of the meetings. I will be reviewing the learning continuity and attendance plan. And if you note, it's the same acronym as LCAP. However, it's a very different process. It's a very different timeline, and it's a very different document. The document is intended for us to tell our story about how learning will continue and continue to be the best for our students in our district. Throughout the meetings, I'm going to listen to concerns. I'm going to review the LCAP and then listen to parents and stakeholders, students, community members about questions that they have, concerns that they have, and recommendations that they would have. As we talked in previous board meetings, there is a distance learning plan that will be shared, and parents will have an opportunity to view it, and we'll be able to make recommendations for it. It's really important that we as a team really listen to our constituencies and to all of our stakeholders. And I want to share the process that we've used in previous meetings, and the same process which we will use moving forward, which is receive positive feedback. So throughout the meetings with all of the stakeholder groups that I just mentioned, we will be taking everyone's question, concerns, and recommendations and writing them down. These will be Zoom meetings for everyone, and we will make sure that we address every question, every concern, and every recommendation, through those meetings. And I think that is very important because often stakeholders come to these meetings and they don't feel heard. We will, and I will ensure that every participant that attends and has a question or a concern or a recommendation, it will be memorialized in a document, and there will be a response and an answer to all of it. And it will also be shared with everyone who attends, and I will also make sure that it's on our webpage where you can find our local control accountability plan. The meeting dates are August 18th with parents across our district. August 19th and 20th are for community groups. So we have DLAC, our Livingston Youth Group, our LGBTQ community, Merced Faith, and Merced Black Parallel School Board. If there's another community group that's out there this evening and is listening, please contact my office. You can contact Kim Zamudio at kzamudio, KZAMUDIO @muhsd.org, and you are welcome to attend. We have reached out to CSEA and DTA as well and asked for their participation in these meetings. If there is any stakeholder that is listening tonight and they'd like to participate in these meetings, you are very welcome. Again, contact my office, Ms. Zamudio, at KZAMUDIO @muhsd.org. Or you can call the district office and you will be routed to the appropriate extension.
So Dr. Aguilar, I think it's great that we're soliciting community feedback, students and parents as well. My question is, obviously we're doing this and it's supposed to be implemented as part of the distance learning plan, but will be well underway already. So how do you intend to take this data and then utilize it to, I guess, put the community voice into effect and perhaps modify some of what's already been established and started?
Sure, and I appreciate that question. It's if our stakeholders listening tonight aren't aware, we're given this plan on August 1st, the brand new template. So on August 1st, so we're having to do all this pre-planning and a lot of this negotiating. However, we have until September 30th to have it completed and approved by the board. So in September, during our regularly scheduled board meeting, I will be presenting the learning continuity and attendance plan, and then asking for there to be a follow-up meeting per ed code to approve the learning continuity and attendance plan. I think I always look for a silver lining in these types of situations. And I think what we really need to look at is this is an advantage that we can really use and make better, in the sense that we have a distance learning plan that Cheryl Garman and our team have spent numerous hours on already. However, we will have had the opportunity to begin implementing it, and parents will have good insight as to what's happening or not happening in their homes, along with students to provide us feedback. We're always looking to make what we create better. So because we have a distance learning plan, and because we do have plans that we've already had to put together to begin our school year, we will definitely look at any recommendations and anything that our stakeholders are asking for, so that we can make it better. And I think we'll have that opportunity for us to implement a plan, ask for the feedback, and then be able to go back and make any adjustments needed to ensure that it is implemented and included in the learning continuity and attendance plan.
If I could just add, you know, this is a brand new process, not just for our district, but for the entire state of California. We think we have a decent plan, but it's not going to be perfect. And I really ask our board members, as you run into parents and staff and all the stakeholders in the next month, encourage them to go to those meetings, encourage them to send us emails, because while we think a certain process might be a best practice, in the implementation of it, maybe there are issues that need to be corrected. So don't be shy about, oh, well, they've already started and they're not going to listen. No, we will listen. That's what those meetings are for.
Will any and every teacher have the opportunity to participate in these in this dialogue or just DTA leadership?
So yes, I'm sorry. What we've done is we've emailed President Pust to include any of the membership and all the membership that would like to participate in the meeting. It's not exclusive. It's if you have the time, to take to meet for a meeting where we're welcoming everyone.
Any other questions or discussion? We can move on to, thank you, Dr. Aguilar. Moving on to return to learn update. Is that Dr. Weimer?
Yes.
Good evening. Give me 1 second here to go ahead and share my screen.
No problem.
So this follows a little bit of a format of what we saw at the previous presentation on some of the information that we have been going over the last couple of weeks. And then at the end, each of the cabinet members will be able to have a quick explanation over certain different areas and different groups and what this is going to look like in a week when we get started. Just a quick update on the county statistics. The case rate, which again is a 14-day average, to be off the watch list needs to be under 100 per 100,000. Merced County on August 1st was at 300. So we're 3 times the number that we need to be to get off the watch list. So we need that number to start coming down. We do have a campaign going on to be safe, wash your hands, social distance, wear the face masks. The sooner that happens and the community is large, the sooner we can get these numbers down and we can look at the return of students possibly to classrooms or to activities. So we do need that number to be coming down. Positive testing on August 1st, Merced County was at 19.3, and we need to be under the 8% mark. So that's what percentage of tests are coming back as positive. So we do need that number to come down. That can happen in 2 ways. Either you increase the number of tests that are being given. And so in other words, you have more people testing, that's more likely to come down, or the infection rate goes down and you'll see that number go down. So those 2 are ways in which that could come down. Hospitalization, ICUs, and ventilators, we are not currently on the watch list for that. One issue is there's been a lot of problems with the state and reporting of data. And the federal government has actually changed some of the ways in which they're expecting data to be reported. So there is no update to these county statistics going on right now on the state dashboard. So everybody is frozen at the level that they're currently at. So we are on the watch list. So we will remain on the watch list. But we can't get you the updated data until they get the stuff worked out on the lag in testing results and the changeover to the way the federal government wants data reported. So this was August 1st. I can't give you an update as of today because of that lapse. You're going to see a little bit later on the agenda the calendar. So there will be a calendar change that was agreed to at the last board meeting, which would be that we are backing up the school, not starting today. So it will actually be a week from today. August 10th and 11th were still the teacher days, non-instructional days. So we did have staff development going on the 10th and the 11th. Those were days that all teachers were back on campus or back at work. Many of them were at Zoom meetings, attending the PD from home or off campus. New teacher days moved from August 6th and 7th to the 13th and 14th. So again, new teachers will be with induction on Thursday, and then they will be meeting with site personnel on Friday. First day of school would move from August 12th to the 19th. 2 days were taken from the Thanksgiving recess, 2 days from the President's Day recess, with Lincoln's birthday moving from the 19th to the 12th, which is the actual holiday, which creates a long weekend right there. So you don't get a whole week off on the President's Day, but you do get a very long weekend the way that it's been arranged. And then the end of the first and third quarter and semester were moved back accordingly. Training and professional development. Administrators were trained on their first session of Nurtured Heart on July 30th and 31st. We have another session later on this week for principals and cabinet. Teachers completed a comprehensive interactive boot camp on the 10th and 11th, focused on distance learning, including Canvas learning management system and Zoom. Additional 6 hours of learning will be released in Innovate Ed. New teacher training again is the 13th, and on the 14th, they are with their site instructional coaches, and all staff will complete the MUHSD COVID awareness training by August 30th. Technology, new teacher workstations are in, along with the webcams, Canvas accounts, and Zoom accounts. 9th grade student Chromebooks are at the sites, with the last ones coming in this week, so that we can get those all out to the 9th graders. And the MiFis are now being distributed out to the sites so that they can have those distributed to students as well. School meals, we did not get all of the waivers that we had available in the spring, so we can't do things the way that we did. Curbside pickup at all campuses will still be there for drive-through. 2 options, people can come through at 7 to 8:30 or 11 to 12:30 every school day. And again, this will be something that we will monitor and see how parents and students are liking those times. And if those need to be adjusted, we'll be able to adjust those to meet the needs of our communities. They'll be able to pick up breakfast and lunch at either time. And for students only, but parent or guardian may pick up the meals. So we had waivers in the spring, which allowed us to deliver to community students for other campuses, students from other districts. All of those things were acceptable under those waivers. We did not get those waivers. Nobody got those waivers. The federal government has not granted those waivers for the fall. And so we can only be serving meals for our students. But again, a parent or guardian can pick that up as long as they have the ID for the student they are picking it up. Questions on any of that before we allow some updates on the different groups and what that might look like starting next week?
On the revised calendar, has that been presented to teachers and classified staff and accepted there?
Yes,
Go ahead, Mr. Cadwin.
yes, both unions have had an opportunity to give us input.
I know families
Look
are
like,
totally with it, but I do think it's the best. You guys did the best with what you had available to move around. So thank you.
Before you go on, I just want to point out the outstanding job that Tony Thomas did with the technology department and getting all the Chromebooks and MiFis and the trainings and all the devices out to staff. In a regular year, that's a difficult job, but in a pandemic, to acquire all the resources, I just want everyone to know how much we appreciate that, and certainly led by Dr. Weimer and Dr. Aguilar, and also Jason Perez for accumulating everything we need as far as PPE and just all the various equipment to make things safe. It was just a huge lift this summer, and very thankful for their efforts.
Dr. Weimer, I have a question about the days. So what are the mandatory training days then?
What were the mandatory training days as far as what happened on them, or what were the days?
Well, what are the days? So it's the 10th, 11th, 12th, 13th, 14th, 17th, and 18th. Those are all training days?
No, the 10th and the 11th are actual training days for all teachers. So all teachers were back on the 10th and 11th. Nobody is officially back today. Thursday and Friday, it will be only new teachers. Monday and Tuesday are not official work days. And then Wednesday will be the first day of school. So after the training days on Monday and Tuesday, we don't have work days and we don't have scheduled days, but you do have a large period of time where teachers can take what they learned over those training days and be able to start doing some preparations for their classes.
Okay. Thank you.
And if I don't hear any others, we will be having cabinet members give a short little piece of information on each of these. And I believe students will be Dr. Aguilar.
Hello again, thank you. What I wanted to do is really illustrate and give everyone tonight kind of an idea of the environment that our students will be in and how different it will be from what we did in the spring. In the spring, we did not have teachers equipped with Zoom to do these type of meetings that we're doing tonight. But then also a feature that perhaps some of our audience may not be familiar with are the breakout rooms. So not only are students all curated and gathered up in this environment, but teachers will have the potential to have students collaborate and work in small groups virtually with the breakout feature that Zoom has. We've done a tremendous amount with our teachers, which is what Ms. Garman will talk about here in this presentation as well. However, a student will get that collaborative experience. A student is going to get a structured day of 30 minutes of time with their instructor. I know anecdotally, in my beautiful wife being a theater teacher and being a teacher and listening to a lot of our teachers are going to really take advantage of that amount of time that they have with our students. So students should anticipate being thoroughly engaged for that amount of time that is scheduled. And also a student should anticipate being supported by our staff through our counseling and anything that our students would need for social emotional learning. Parents and staff can walk physically onto a campus to get that help if needed. Students will have access to teachers after hours, after their scheduled day, which is between, I believe, 12 and 2-ish. I don't have the schedule in front of me, but students will have the opportunity to connect with adults on campus. And something that I have found as an instructor over the summer, doing an online class with Canvas, is that you always have students that will attend class early and always hang out afterwards because they have questions and they want to interact. So students will have that opportunity to be able to interact with adults in a face-to-face environment, something that they did not have in the spring. Also, students should anticipate grade accountability. Grades count. There is no hold harmless. There's students are starting with a clean slate this year with grades, and they're going to have to earn their grades like they would traditionally do. So that is really going to change the motivation for many students and attending class and taking notes and taking their exams. We're going to try to make that as real as possible for our students. Any questions about the student experience from our board?
So basically, sorry, so student sits down at their desk, they're ready to go at 8 a.m. or whatever space they've carved out. And their first period is 30 minutes, and then each period just rolls from that. And how much of that time is live instruction?
It's going to depend on the teacher. But again, anecdotally, what I'm hearing from our teachers is that they're really going to take advantage of that 30 minutes that they have scheduled time. And then on top of that, they'll be giving homework and work projects for students to do outside of class. So it's going to be virtually a minimum day for students in a 30-minute segment with 5-minute breaks in between class.
Okay, so if I understand correctly, most schools will begin at 8. I think there's one that starts at 8:10 and one at 8:15. And so they're done by 12:30, 12:45, depending on the school, with their live instruction for the day. And then there may be follow-up or special help after that. Is that correct?
That is correct. So that's something that also parents can anticipate. I won't step on the toes of Director Johnson, who will talk about the parent perspective. But yes, there is support for students and teacher availability in the afternoon that is built into this schedule.
I guess the only other question would be if a child has attendance issues, gets behind, how are teachers following up there?
Yeah, every campus is going to have a team that is going to work on making sure that our students are pulled back into the learning environment. So if a student is falling behind, if a student is not showing up, every site will have a team that will reach out and do what they need to do to connect with students, whether that means a home visit or phone calls home. They will be there to ensure that students are getting the learning that they need.
What about social and emotional and well-being, that sort of thing? Or will we have counselors available on site or via Zoom or both?
Both. So we do have our counselors available as they normally would be available for students. So if you think of a regular traditional bell schedule, if a counselor needs to see a student, there usually is a pass for that student, and sometimes they miss a little bit of class towards the end. The same function will occur this year. If there's a need for a student to receive some social emotional help, they can always again reach out and call or email. But then most importantly, what we're offering is the opportunity for a student and or parent to physically walk on campus to a walk-up window outdoors, so that a student can get the help that they need, and they could be referred to whomever they need to see to address their concerns or issues.
Thank you.
For the students, as we're distributing the MiFi devices, how are we making sure that they know how to use them and are prepared for the first day of school?
Yeah, so every site has put together a plan. The district office and Tony's team did a wonderful job putting together a graphic. So we offer that to sites. Some sites are using that. Some sites have created their own. I know that his team also created one specifically for the MiFis to make sure that students know how to use them, and our staff know how to use them, and our support staff, our administrators, and our teacher librarians and techs on campus know how to use them. Tony had a Zoom meeting with them this morning, and we had administrators and teachers on that Zoom call. So every site has turned in their support plans as to what they're going to give to parents and students in the event that they need to troubleshoot with the Chromebook or the MiFi devices.
Okay, and then how are we preparing students to do Zoom meeting versus they used to do the
Google Hangouts?
Google Hangouts and stuff. So are they prepared for this, or?
Yeah.
Sorry, so you can add that to this. So, and are we going to have some technical support available for this?
Yes, Ms. Garman has done a tremendous job with her team and the site's teams in training our staff. So our instructional coaches, teacher librarians, or associate principals of teaching and learning have been trained by Ms. Garman and her team, to use Zoom, to use Canvas, to use all the tools necessary to do this distance learning. Then the sites have been training their teachers this week as well. There is tech support on every campus in the event that a student or a parent or a teacher needs help. Also, the nice thing is that many of our teachers are back on campus, so if they do need that tech support, they do have that immediate support that can be given to them in their classroom.
Dr. Aguilar, students can also, well, since this is a different situation than what we had in the spring, We've got new courses, grades count. Students can also expect to know on a regular basis how they're doing asynchronously through gradebook.
That is correct. So there is the expectation that grades are being kept. You know, contractually, they need to be updated at least every 10 days, 2 weeks. So gradebooks need to be updated. Students will have that face-to-face interaction with their teacher. So if there's an immediate concern about, you know, their standing in the class, that because they're meeting face-to-face now, that they can also ask the teacher, you know, hey, how am I doing? Or, you know, has this been graded, or is there something I can do to raise my grade? Or is there a tutoring session that I can attend with you in the afternoon? So there are a variety of different strategies that we're implementing that were very different from the spring to ensure that students know their progress and where they stand.
Thank you.
We'll also have tech support available at the district level, one number to call for anyone from any site into the evening if parents and students have issues.
So this is for the students as well?
Parents or students, anyone, yes, or staff.
The other thing that was brought to my attention is, what if these students have more than one person in the same family that's going to have to be attending classes at the same time? These MiFi devices, we did talk about this, that they can hold up to 4 or more people, right, at the same time?
We're going to distribute a MiFi to every student because we know that even just running Zoom itself takes a lot of processing power. So every student, regardless of whether there are 2 or 3 students in the home, are going to get their own MiFi device, so that we don't have any issues with students being dropped.
Right, and you know, that's if there are students, but what if they're a student of Merced Union or Livingston Union and so on?
Yeah, so all of the MiFi devices are being synchronized to our network. And they are also being engineered to have our filters. So much like we did with our Chromebooks, if students are using that MiFi device, there will be a filter so that they cannot look up anything that's inappropriate or not supported by board policy. And also they will be synced just to our Chromebook devices. So not anyone in the household that does not belong to our district cannot log in and use that as a MiFi hotspot. Are there any other questions before I hand it off to the next person? Okay, thank you very much.
And next up would be Cheryl Garment.
Hi, good evening. I would like to share my screen briefly just to give you a little snapshot of what we're talking about when it comes to teachers and all that they are dealing with. As we've been discussing during this very challenging year that is 2020, our spring looked like this. There was lack of attendance protocols, lack of synchronous instruction, if any. There was the focus mostly on review material or enrichment. There was not necessarily technology access for all, and we were trying to work with Wi-Fi buses and try to provide that, but that was spotty, and there was held harmless grading as a practice. So very different from what we're looking at now. The training that's been referred to that took place on Monday, Tuesday was so much information, lots of information. It's very complicated to lead instruction in a distance learning setting, and 2 days is not enough time to go deep, to learn it all by any means. Would it have been great to have this earlier in the summer? Sure, of course. It's just, you know, we are where we are, and we've been talking about our circumstances and how fluid it is and how things have changed. And so we are doing the best we can in the worst of circumstances. What teachers are looking at in the fall is, as I mentioned, quite complicated. Now they're looking at lesson planning very differently, chunking their information into, you know, fit within a synchronous 30-minute session, which is new and different. it's going to be really important for teachers to hone in and focus on those essential standards, given the time restraints that they're now facing. Highlight student engagement and interactivity like never before, so that kids are wanting to log in and stay logged in and participating. When you don't have that face-to-face, you're compensating for that in a virtual environment. The constant checking for understanding to make sure that kids are getting what you're delivering in a shortened time frame, and trying to assess that somehow and differentiate for your special populations and all of the individual accommodations, modifications that are necessary for all those individual learners. Very, very complicated. In doing that, there's a lot of tools that, you know, go in to help them do that. Do all the teachers know the suite of Google apps? You know, yes, we have new teachers coming in, so to get them with the baseline of knowledge to be able to function just as a Google district that we are, ensuring that. What about Canvas or Google Classroom? Setting up that digital learning environment to be, again, engaging, welcoming, a sense of community for their students. How do I post my lessons, and how am I going to, you know, set this up, set that up? Very difficult to do, and a lot of choices to make there. Video conferencing is a regular thing now. And am I using Zoom? Am I using Google Meet? And am I gonna create a recurring link for my second period all the year round? Or am I gonna have a different link for second period every day? You know, there's lots of information and choices and decisions and organization involved with creating a structure on the teacher's end. Screencasting. Are teachers going to be creating instructional delivery via video? And so doing that, and that might involve setting up a YouTube channel or a way to store their videos and then post for students to be learning during the asynchronous part, or, you know, what have you. Then you're talking about communication as a focus, and the teacher establishing their presence in this virtual environment, setting clear expectations, norms for how students are, you know, interacting within the environment. That comes down to how they're posting and how they're submitting things, and all of those kinds of communication. Small group work, if they go to a breakout room, that they know how to behave appropriately. All of those kinds of things go into making those norms and expectations clear. Emails, collaborations with colleagues, emails with students and families, troubleshooting for the kids. That's going to be new and different as kids have issues and I can't log on, and, you know, I was late to class because I can't log on, and just those kinds of things. Attendance taking, where we didn't have protocols for that in the spring. You know, now that is required, of course, daily, and by use of our official tool ARIES, attendance will need to be recorded daily. Responsive feedback, creating a system so that kids maintain engagement and understand their progress, working toward mastery of the instruction. Teachers have to employ a system that is responsive with good turnaround time to students and families, so that it's clear of what everybody's doing and that nobody's getting left behind and that kind of thing. And we mentioned updating ARIES with that. Incorporating digital citizenship. Now we're all virtual. And so how can that be brought in to help our students know what's appropriate with behaviors and interactions online with whomever, peers or adults, what have you. Parent Square. Not all teachers had employed the use of Parent Square necessarily as an individual teacher, and now many more will be as a communication tool with families. Parent Square can grab a progress report out of ARIES and send it to an individual family to give, you know, the family an update on their students' grades. And teachers can set up Parent Square groups for their classes and really use that as a communication tool, but that's still just, you know, one more thing they have to do that maybe they weren't doing before. Office hours, structuring office hours with student outreach, and how's that gonna work? And of course, just the general technology. How's it going to go with connections going down? What if we all break the internet on the first day? I don't know. You know, things happen. And with that, you have to have a plan, a backup, be flexible. You have to train the kids what to do in the event of, so that they know what the plan is, all these things. Offline activities, kind of have that in the back pocket. So many things, so many complicated, challenging things on a teacher's plate to have to manage and deal with. It's stressful, it's overwhelming. Fortunately for us, and I truly believe this, our district has the best around, very skilled professionals that I've been working with personally all summer. I've had people reaching out to me, and I'm confident they're going to pull off a fabulous job, no doubt. But I do understand the stress and the overwhelming feelings that are going on right now. It's going to be a little bumpy, but they will get there. They're going to get the job done. So that is my take on what a teacher is looking at.
Well, I appreciate the comprehensive approach, Cheryl, that outline, you know, hitting all the pieces that you know are going to be there. We'll see them in the beginning, or we'll see them somewhere along the way, but really being proactive in all those areas, you know, not just the connectivity, but the, you know, the training, you know, all the pieces you mentioned, the digital citizenship, how do we use the different programs? There is a lot to it. And, you know, each answer generates 3 more questions. So it really can be overwhelming. So thank you for putting that together. And, you know, and thank you to all the staff too for, you know, for what you're going to be doing. And we have a lot of faith in you being able to pull it off. So thank you.
Thank you. Our site-based teams who facilitated some trainings for their own sites got very little notice on what they were to pull off these last couple of days, and they did a fantastic job orienting their staff to some of these issues that they're going to be facing. And I appreciate all their hard work and effort.
Hey, Cheryl,
Yes.
as far as devices or other tech tools that teachers may be needing during this time, you know, as we, you know, obviously go with the DL, are we letting teachers kind of order what they need to accommodate their learning style? Or are we just saying, you know, turn some request in and we'll approve it? I mean, because obviously school's starting next Wednesday. And unless, you know, you've already started preparing yourself for this time and not spending money out of your pocket, which obviously we're receiving, you know, funds for that. Do we have something set in place as far as either reimbursing staff that have already started this process way back when? And then for those that are looking to purchase additional support devices to improve their teaching for them and for our students?
I know that we've equipped our students and our staff with some, you know, bare minimum functional equipment to use. For example, the webcams that were installed, not everybody had that. And now they have that in their classroom to facilitate that. The MiFi devices, every student has that. And so just in terms of bare bones functionality, that's in place. In terms of additional ordering, I am quite confident there are very strict and specific protocols in place under Dr. Weimer's purview that sites will work with him under.
Okay. And what about if teachers want to go with a Zoom and obviously buy that license to have the Zoom to use at their discretion for their teaching? Are we limiting that, restricting that, or is it okay that they submit to purchase Zoom for them?
Great news. We have Zoom licenses purchased for our certificated staff that have students on their rosters, so that attendance reporting feature is built in, as well as all of the abilities to conduct polls and do all of the functionality that a teacher seeing student contacts every day would need. So that's a really fabulous that we were able to purchase that for our teachers.
Perfect. Thank you very much.
Some teachers may already have better technology than we do. Are they allowed to bring that to school?
I would encourage any teacher trying to implement anything new that's not a standard piece of equipment for our district to work really closely with our IT department to ensure compatibility with our softwares and programs and the way that our students access course materials and supplemental softwares that we have and digital curriculum that we use. It's always a best practice to consult the professionals in that department to make sure that anything they're bringing from home would be working and not, incompatible.
Got it. So we just need to communicate that to them. Here's what you have. Please work with it. If you have other ideas, I guess, please bring them to the IT department before you try to use them.
That would be my recommendation. Yes, I would want staff to be very clear on their purpose for some outside equipment or software, obviously, and then yes, to consult with the IT department for approval in its use.
Yeah, if I may add, we've had teachers, for example, ask for applications off the Google Play, for example, and we know that some of the software that they're asking is going to disrupt the functionality of the Chromebook because of the extensions that you have to download and use. So we have to be very careful and very mindful of what we're allowing our staff to use with software, but then also with the hardware. If they're bringing in hardware that our staff are not trained to use, we most definitely don't want to ruin anything that the staff is bringing, but then also we want to make sure that it is compatible to what we're using.
Yeah, I agree with that 100%. It becomes very difficult to support, and it also, like you were saying, it really impacts the functionality of the hardware, and then you don't have quality instruction because your hardware is not working because of an extension or a download. I completely support that 100%.
I agree with that. Well, I'm just saying, let's communicate. If we can communicate with them, let them know. Do we have an updated, internet use plan or equipment use plan, IT plan that they need to read and say, here's what you need to follow. We don't want to bring, like you said, some other software that might bring in a virus or may, some type of virus that may infringe on the students' Chromebooks and access their files or even their cameras. So yeah, I agree. So I think we should communicate with all staff, let them know that this is the process to follow.
For students who aren't using the Chromebook, and there are several on every campus, will they no longer be able to use their own device that they've provided? Or a lot of, not a lot, but some kids bring a laptop or whatnot. With the MiFis, will they not be able to use them?
Personally, I'm not aware of all those individual situations that might be going on out there with different devices. And I know we have iPads in the district and other things. And so I'm sure those students and families, if they're not already set up through their site and our appropriate networking, they will have the ability to get tech support from the site. We have systems in place to support families with their connectivity issues, and that will be able to get resolved easily.
Cheryl, thank you for your presentation. Your area of expertise is obviously technology. My question is on health and safety for teachers and staff on campus. What's being done there to make sure that all of our employees who are on site feel safe?
Ralph, you want to comment on that, please?
Sure. Erin, we've developed a COVID prevention plan. We've taken everything that the CDC, the California Department of Public Health, and our local Department of Public Health, and we're trying to follow it. Things like hand washing, wearing a mask, 6 feet of social separation, regular cleaning, of facilities, especially the high traffic areas, the high contact areas. We've also, we're working to upgrade air filtration or the air filters in HVAC systems where it's not an individualized system for each room. So we are absolutely doing our best to keep up with the daily changes that the CDC guidelines, Cal OSHA might bring our way, and we're trying to implement those. And those are also part of the MOU that we signed today.
Are there any further questions for me regarding teacher perspective?
Thank you, Cheryl.
Thank you.
And next up would be Mandy Ballinger.
Good evening. Like our other staff members, classified staff will be reporting to their work site, and they are expected to follow the COVID-19 protocols, which include wearing a cloth face covering, following the social distancing, and also all staff are completing the daily health screening. Many of our classified staff have been back since June, and so they're pretty familiar with the protocols. But for those who will just be joining us back, they'll complete training on the protocols and then also the current safety guidelines. Recently, we worked with CSEA leadership to acknowledge that some of the classified staff may be asked to perform duties not currently within their job description, and that they should be trained to complete those tasks. I think that our classified staff, like all of us, have had to pivot in many situations. We have like campus registrars who were involved in creating virtual registration processes for families who needed that. We'll have liaisons helping out, checking in visitors on all the campuses, using the forms that we have for that. We also have paraprofessionals that are going to need to be trained on how to use Zoom so that they can support teachers and students in the classroom. So I think that they've already done a lot of that, but then we'll see more as we get going here. I know that I appreciate our classified staff's flexibility during the crazy times, and they really have a commitment to creating the best possible environment and service for our students in our community. So I do appreciate that from them. Any questions on classified staff?
Thank you.
Mandy, I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm going to piggyback off you. You know, our classified staff has been there since back in March when we closed, and you know, whether it's doing the meals and just everything else, keeping our campus cleaned and cleaning it and all that other stuff. So yeah, so kudos to all of them for just pushing through this whole process and you know, and being super troopers. And then obviously, you know, being asked to work out of their normal job duties now because of changes that are ongoing that are beyond their control, and us still having, you know, give them some added assignments. So thank you to all our CSEA staff. Thank you.
Yeah, and the vast majority are going out of their way asking, you know, administrators how they can help. And attitude is absolutely appreciated.
I have two children at Merced High, and they both got an email from one of the campus liaisons this week, just saying, "Hey, checking on you, miss you," and it was very touching. They miss her very much as well, and I don't know what we can do, you know, to enable our liaisons to be in touch with students, but I know that they make special connections with students on every campus and play an important role. Making high school experience positive. And our freshmen won't know them, but anyway, I think there's something to be said for that, and we should try and enable our liaisons to continuously be in touch with students.
If I may interject here really quickly to answer one of Mrs. Ham's questions about students using their personal computers and them being able to connect to the MiFi. So yes, the answer from Director Thomas is yes, our students will be able to connect with their own, if they have their own computer, they will be able to connect with our MiFi devices.
Thank you.
On that note, Dr. Aguilar or Cheryl, these devices are mobile, right? So they say they go on a trip, they can take it with them anywhere and wherever.
Yes, they're about the size of your phone, maybe a little smaller.
Okay. Back to the classified. What about the office personnel and counselors, whatever, anyone that's in the offices? Are we having them social distance, or everyone's going to wear masks? Can you just touch on that a little bit, please, on what the office people will do if the teachers are going to have to go through the office or can go directly to their classroom to try and avoid as much contact as possible?
Yeah, our protocols include everyone wearing a mask and increasing the social distancing. As far as staff passing through, I mean, of course, they would take the most precaution possible. As far as any public or anything happening, we do have the big stickers that that sites are going to be putting on the ground to designate the 6 feet apart. And then they also have messages to help promote the saving our school year.
Okay.
I think you're on, Mr. Johnson.
Good evening, board members. I would like to assure you that I had a very robust list of what parents can expect, but between Dr. Aguilar and Cheryl Garman, they have checked 7 of my things off this list. So I will endeavor to soldier on. What parents can expect is school sites will have a system in place for accommodating in-person campus visits. There will be help desks and help windows. Visits should be scheduled in advance when appropriate, and masks must be worn. Visitors will be screened for temperature and current health status. There will be after-school tutorial with assets, probably beginning after Labor Day. There will be attendance teams that have been created for the purpose of re-engaging students who are either not logging on or not completing assignments. Students will have work every day. Principals will be holding sessions such as Facebook Live or other media to share information. Freshmen will have an opportunity for a Zoom orientation. School site council and ELAC meetings will be held this year, and they will be held through Zoom. LPAC, the English Language Proficiency Assessment for California, will be held online and in person for initial testing for students who are enrolled to California newly. If you have any questions, if parents have any questions, it's best to contact the site's administration.
I have a question, Torin. If you are a new parent to our district and you have questions, who is your first point of contact on a campus?
Well, it would be the general number, but as a new parent to the district, you have to find out which school is yours. So if that's the question, then you should probably contact the district office or child welfare and attendance, and they will tell you which school is in your district. And then after that, contact the school.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I know the Q&A sessions, I know I did one and I listened to it. They're very helpful. I mean, they're helpful and very informative for not just returning parents, but there are also a lot of new as well. Ask some very good questions. Started fully in this situation. So I really big doing that and did think it was a really good outreach.
I can translate that. She said sites did a great job with reaching out with their Facebook Live.
I also saw that Sam sent an email to parents today that said, here's how to contact different folks, people up on the website. I think I saw the headline. It seemed very helpful.
Great translation.
Anything else for Mr. Johnson?
Well, Mr. Johnston, so is your team the one that's going to follow up on students that get behind, or either they're not signing into the classes, or they're just getting behind on their grades or need help? Is that your team who's going to handle this?
Yes, sir. My team will most certainly be following up with kids who don't log on or who are not completing their work. Either is an absence, and so the attendance team will follow up on all absences. I expect that there'll be a lot of probably technical issues. And so the idea of the intervention attendance team is to find out what's going on. You know, does the kid have everything he needs to log on? If he doesn't, how can we fix it? If he does, then how can we speak with him and his family about making sure that the kid is logging on and get the education that he deserves?
Will this include even visiting the homes of students?
Yes, it will include us possibly, you know, knocking on the door and leaving a note and saying, you know, a kid's not logging on. These are the days he missed. What can we do as a school site to help re-engage the student?
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, Mrs. Johnson, I think you're up.
Okay, as far as special education, sorry, we have dueling computers here. Are we muted? Okay. Services that are outlined in the IEPs will be implemented to the maximum extent possible. Services will be provided through Zoom, and all special ed services will be synchronous. Learning skills classes will be where students receive help on their independent assignments that are assigned in their gen ed classes. Direct instruction for SDC classes such as math, English, and life skills will also happen through Zoom and will also be synchronous. Speech and counseling services will be done remotely through Zoom or another online platform, depending on who the provider is. Transition students in our adult transition class will focus on post-secondary skills instead of job training. The emphasis will be on job preparedness instead of job experience. Students will be assessed in person with proper safety protocols in place to guarantee a thorough assessment to determine students' strengths and weaknesses. Special ed teachers will be assigned as co-teachers in general ed classes so they can provide assistance, reteaching, or facilitating breakout rooms for additional support. IEP meetings will be held via Zoom or sometimes by telephone. And if students with IEPs are struggling, we will reconvene teams to discuss implementing additional supports to help students be successful. Any questions about special ed services?
It's got to be one.
I know you went a little bit fast, but I was trying to follow. So you covered. Sorry, I mean it in a good way.
We understand.
Yeah.
Sorry, Alan, I didn't listen to you.
This includes the students on 504 plans.
Yes, absolutely. And those meetings will be held by counselors the first month of school, the 504 meetings for the new school year.
Okay. And you know, just so you know, I did have my son's counselor already reach out. He is on a 504 plan, and I'm glad we're reaching out already.
Yep, that's good to hear.
Christy, I was kind of in and out, so I apologize. I missed part of that, but there's no reduction in minutes for any of those student populations, correct?
We are trying our very best to get every minute in. All right, thank you.
All right, Mr. Calderon.
Thank you. Just before I begin, I want to send a huge thank you to athletic directors and activities directors. As I talk to you about what coaches and advisors are going to be doing, these people have been instrumental representing each site to make sure that kids get back into athletics and activities as soon as possible, as soon as as soon as conditions will allow us to. So what can you expect as far as coaches? Coaches will be given the go-ahead to begin in their off-season program on September 8th. If there are coaches that are ready to go before then they will be allowed to do so. But again, it's with their off-season program in a phase A, which means exercising outside, conditioning outside, practicing social distancing, and all the precautions that that we did start sometime in June. The other thing that I've asked athletic directors to make sure that they send out the message is the amount of the off season, because if they start right after September 8th, the fall season won't begin until December 7th. Well, there's a lot of things that are going to be happening, and the most important is school. Because in order to be ready for the fall season, any potential athlete or activities participant must make sure that they remain eligible. So I've tasked the coaches with also making sure that their students are participating and doing well academically so that they will be eligible for the fall and winter and spring seasons. Because once we get there, it's hard to come back from ineligibility. So that's what they will be doing. The activities directors have created a common calendar across the district to make sure that kids get a sense of community, of campus culture, even through the virtual world. They'll be doing the initial kickoff and introducing new teachers to each of their students. And then in September, they will start what we call rushing clubs. So putting clubs out in the spotlight, having kids join them virtually and begin activities virtually when possible. So that's what they will be doing. Questions?
So if coaches are ready, they can start training today, tomorrow, next week, or?
Well, part of the consideration, and we gave this a lot of thought, we wanted to make sure that kids got the school part right first. We have nearly 3 months of preparation time, off-season time, before we begin the fall season. So if we can wait until the week of August 31st at the earliest to get back doing an off-season program, then that would be our preference. But we've been given the okay to move forward in phase A, which I've described to you. And if they're ready to go, then we're not going to stand in their way.
Well, as a parent with athletes, I can tell you my kids are dying to train, and my neighborhood high school kids who were loving what was going on in June. It was so good for their get some physical activity and learn some new sports. And normally fall sports have started before we even start the school year. They're training, I think ahead of school start. And I mean, I would love to think that school will be as rigorous this year as normal, but I don't see that happening, and kids are only going to be in class until 12:30, 12:45. So forgive me, but I am a fan of starting athletics as soon as possible for our kids, because I think for those who really care, it will be what keeps them eligible, what keeps them in school, motivates them.
Yes, 100% understood. We have a lot of kids that are involved in athletics, in activities, and we want to put them back in action as soon as possible.
Yeah, I agree. And hopefully the coaches, when they have that first opportunity, they'll jump on it to get the athletes ready.
there's a lot that are chomping at the bit. Yes.
I also appreciate the coordinated activities calendar. I think that'll be very helpful. I think it's hard for kids to see, oh, well, why is that school doing that and my school's not doing a senior sunrise and things of that nature. So I'm glad to hear that. And again,
Yes.
thank you to everyone for all of your efforts in figuring it out and thinking it through. I know a lot, and all we can do is know that we're flexible and make this happen and go well for everybody.
Mr. Calderon, so just to clarify, starting August, the first week of August, coaches can have athletes actually start practicing?
They can start in phase A, which is outdoor conditioning only with no equipment. As we progress and hopefully our numbers get better, we would move into a phase B, something along the lines of being able to still be outside, social distance, but perhaps begin to use equipment. And as things get better and better, our hope is to get more and more normalized in our practice schedules.
I know this is coaches, but what about band? And
yeah, I talked to the band directors recently. The problem is that the state has specifically banned performing arts activities, and they are very clear. There's no band, there's no choir. There's a group of interested parents that are questioning that and asking them to kind of point out what the difference is between band and athletics. And like I told Mr. Schmid, the director of the Marching 100, as soon as we get clearance, we're going to adopt their protocols that they put into place over the summer. They were working on those. They had them in place, and then the county shut us down. So yes, we are very interested in getting those kids, FFA kids, speech kids, speech and debate, all of those kids, all of the clubs that interest our kids. We want to go get those back online. But we do have to follow county health department guidelines.
Yeah, and I just want to be clear, as a district, we view them all the same. County health, and it's not even county health, it's the state health department that is defining the issue around the use of horns and, projecting and singing, and they're putting, the entire band and performing arts department in that category. And well, you have percussion and you have marching, you have all sorts of different things that you can do to keep students involved and physically active. So we are pushing them to see that as they are seeing athletics, but that is yet to be seen.
Well, I agree on some of these things, that what's the difference between choir and football or band? Because in choir you're singing, and in football you're yelling out plays and everything else. But anyways, that's something else. The other thing I wanted to know a little bit about is, what about FFA type of projects and activities? How is that being handled?
I talked to one of our leaders in the ag department again this week, and he informed me that all activities are still calendared, but the head organization, the head FFA organization, hasn't decided in what format those things are going to happen. Of course, people that have what they call SAE projects, the teachers are still going out and making sure that those projects are moving along. So as much as possible under these circumstances. So FFA continues. It hasn't stopped. And until we know more, we'll get that communication out to parents and students as soon as we have it.
Thank you.
Okay, we're ready to move on, Mr. Lopez.
Mrs. Pickle. Mrs. Pickle, you're on.
Oh, okay, Mr. Lopez. All right, move on to association comment period. So I have DTA in front of me, but I do not have CSEA. Okay. Do you just want me to read it, Mr. Lopez?
Yes, 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 please.
Good evening, President Lopez, trustees, Superintendent Peterson, and Cabinet. With the widespread use of social media, ideological polarization is increasingly evident among our society. More and more people become entrenched in the bubble of information. The result of this self-soothing behavior is the unwillingness to have real conversations with each other. Too many people behind their keyboards.
Frozen.
He's frozen.
I would rather seek out dialogue.
Should someone get connection in fairness to DPA?
Tiffany. Okay,
Yeah. Do you have it, Richard?
I've got it here, guys. Tiffany, I'm gonna put you on pause. We lost you, okay? She's still frozen, right?
Yeah, she's frozen.
Okay.
No, she's just holding still, that's all.
Good evening, everyone. I want to begin by acknowledging all teachers who wrote, I'm sorry, wrong email. Hold on 1 second.
Yeah.
Good evening, President
I'm
Lopez,
having some real
trustee, Superintendent Peterson, and Cabinet. Is she still talking?
Still frozen.
Yeah, I'm having some connection issues. Richard, if you
Yes.
want to go, if you want to finish
I've got it, Tiffany. With the widespread use of social media, ideological polarization has become increasingly evident amongst our society. More and more people become entrenched in the bubble of information in which they surround themselves. A result of this self-soothing behavior is the unwillingness to have real conversations with each other. Too many people hide behind their keyboards, monitors, and search engines so that they might encounter a real person with a different view than them. This trend is the precise reason that I refuse to be part of the social media. I would rather seek out dialogue with people who have differing views than myself, listen, empathize, and share. This process does not burst my bubble. This process allows for growth and understanding. As negotiations began in July, I saw two bubbles that were not open to the other for fear of bursting. I was not optimistic that we could break the barriers between us since I have been jaded by my view of our social divide. What we have come up with, much to my amazement and relief, is a merging of bubbles for the betterment of our institution. You all have listened to me and the membership. You all have shared with me and our membership. This has led to an agreement in which we should be proud. I truly hope that this relationship of mutual trust, communication, and nonpartisanship will not only continue, but continue to grow. Objectively, I think it's much more important that people communicate empathetically and in a humanistic manner, no matter the values or worldview. And there's a much more important than feeling comfortable in your own cocoon of reality. Thank you for all that you do, President Tim Pust. And then as far as the CSEA goes, good evening, board members. The e-board has been working with the district during these uncertain times, and the change within the district has been awesome. We are currently in the process of introducing the reopening MOU for our members to vote on. We have gotten some pushback, and there are some concerns that it will not pass. If this is the case, we will hand over any further negotiations with the district to the negotiating committee. Our members seem to be more settled, but are still working on the trust issue with the district, however. The e-board feels that we have made tremendous strides in the right direction. CSEA will continue to work in a positive manner with the district as long as our contract is being followed and our voices are being heard. Thank you, CSEA Chapter 252. Okay. All right. We will then move on now to the first thing is on the consent agenda. The board is asked to approve the consent agenda items as submitted. Is there a motion? Is that Tiffany? Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. Was that Aaron or Tiffany? I'm sorry.
No, I was encouraging someone to second.
Okay. Okay. So Leslie, do we have a second? I'm sorry.
I'm not sure. I thought Tiffany made the motion and Aaron seconded it. Is that not correct?
I did not second the motion. I have some questions.
Okay, so does somebody want a second and then we can entertain the conversation?
I too have similar questions. I don't, is the second necessary before we can have any discussion at all?
Typically it's part of the process, but you know what? These are unprecedented times, John. So hey, since we have questions, let's go for it. I know one of them that's on my list is I know that we went into contract with NG back, I don't know, several months ago, as far as the solar project goes at our various sites. I know that in the consent agenda under the certification or the ratification of contracts, there seems to be a cost of over $200,000 for NG for some work. I'm not sure if the board, myself, whatever, we were under the impression, or I was, it would be out of no cost out of our pockets to make this work. So if somebody can clarify for me and for us those costs there, please.
That is also one of the questions I had. I also understood that there would be no cost to the district when we voted on it.
And I know that Ted Wallstrom is no longer with us, but you know, still we're talking about a substantial amount of money, you know, that is coming out of, I would assume, the general fund or facilities. You know, so if we can have some clarification as to those costs, please.
Yeah. I'll let Ralph comment on the specifics, but this is a DSA requirement at the end of every project for inspection. I'm not sure why Ted did not list that. It's not something we have a choice on. And Ralph, you can.
Yes, I too was taken aback. I think what Ted promoted to you was that the cost savings in this project was this cost from the district was going to be absorbed in part of the overall savings for the district. What this engineering firm is hired to do as part of the DSA process. So there's two things. They have to be the ones that certify how things are being welded, how much rebar is in the concrete that's being used, how deep the holes are. They're there to verify, and that's on top of the DSA. The contract that you have before you is a not to exceed. What I've asked Melissa to give me a better prediction now that we are more than halfway through the project, to give me an idea of what the actual number is going to be. Again, the contract is written not to exceed, I believe it's 220,000. And I don't think that that's the amount that they're going to reach. So I will have better clarification on what the actual amount is going to end up being.
Ralph,
but again, I think, yes.
The year already exceeds 220,000.
What's that?
The amount already exceeds 220,000.
the contract that you're being asked to affirm or to vote on tonight is what I'm saying is they are asking to hire this individual firm, but not to exceed the $220,000 amount for the engineering company. I think there's an additional cost there of and I don't have it in front of me. I'm sorry. The other amount is for like $12,000. Is that correct?
Yeah, Ralph, and I think in the bigger picture of things, I think when we sold this solar project, with the intention of no cost to the district, obviously a group like NG understands that they must also fulfill any DSA requirements, so all of that should have been a part of their entire cost. And then we work backwards as to what our cost is going to be once this project is completed. And then once we start to earn that money from our savings from the solar project, it almost feels like our hands are tied now because that project is already ongoing. They're probably halfway done. Pretty much.
Yeah, I would say our hands are not tied. I would say our hands are not tied. We can pull this from the consent agenda and we can go to NG and state our case.
Okay.
All of us were under that impression. So, I mean, it's a difficult situation because Ted is not here. Ted negotiated that and has all the details of that situation. And so I agree 100%.
And obviously, in all due respect to Ted Wallstrom, he proposed this to all of us, so in some sense, we are all responsible for what's going on right now. And so we're hoping that with some accountability, we can go back to Angie and say, hey, look, Ted's no longer with us. This is what we have now. We need to work something out. So
yeah, absolutely.
I'll be happy.
There has to be some language in contract somewhere that's going to give people information too, but Ted's not here. So are we just going to pull this one contract and approve the rest of the payments?
Well, I would also say Ted's not here, but he's not gone. He's available. Melissa was part of this too. So, I mean, I will second Tiffany's motion, pulling approval of everything to, I think it's cut off on my sheet, Technicon Engineering Services, and the total amount is $235,531.
We probably need to make a new motion then with that. So do you want to make that motion, Aaron, and then I'll second it?
Well, you know what, Tiffany, let's hold off in case there's other questions with other items on the contracts or within the consent agenda.
Just a quick question on that. Didn't our lawyers or our firm read the contract and agree with us that there was no additional fees or no cost to the district? Did our lawyers review the contract?
I'm not sure if Ted had David Saldani review that. I would like to say I'm sure he did, but I'm going to be on the phone tomorrow morning with Ted, and I'm also going to meet on the weekly phone call with NG and talk about this.
Yeah, I can tell you, and Ted, Aaron is right. Ted is very accessible, and I called him and asked questions about this. I can just tell you how facilities people in our industry think, and that is they don't think about the DSA costs. They think that's just kind of standard practice for the district to assume they're going to have that cost because that's what happens with every building. But in this particular situation, that shouldn't have happened. So it's our job to follow up with NG.
Are there any other questions on the consent agenda or the contract specifically?
Mine's not so much a question as a comment. I just think in case, the general public is listening, and I think it's very worthwhile to note that there's a contract with the State Center Community College for $1 million grant that we got to to really make our diesel engines technology pathway robust and awesome. And I'm super excited about that for our community. I don't know who wrote, but major kudos for getting awesome.
Yeah, that's Costa's department. They've done an outstanding job of procuring every extra dollar out there for CTE. So kudos.
Awesome.
So Tiffany, did you want to go ahead and and amend your motion, please?
I have a question about the contract with Verizon Wireless. So we have almost $1 million contract with them, and that does not include the service. That's just for 12,000 devices, is that correct?
Costa, Scott.
Yes, that is for those 12,500 devices.
What, and can you just clarify what the monthly fee would be again?
So roughly it comes out to be about $10 per student a month and that's for a year contract. So you figure it's about $50 to $60. And again, I don't have all the information in front of me, so I'm trying to recall the best I can. So the actual box, the actual hardware itself is about, $50 to $60 plus tax. And then we're paying about $10. Well, it comes out to be about $10 a month for the actual service for each one of the MiFi devices.
And so we have, they're costing us $65.76 each MiFi device. But the service, if, for example, in my household, I don't think we will need it. Are we going to be paying for service for that, even if I don't need it? If I say I don't want it, I don't need it, keep it?
No, we're only activating those devices that we're going to distribute.
Okay.
Any other questions on the consent agenda?
Let me give you just one quick update on that as well. Most likely you're going to see another contract for Verizon probably either in September or October. We're going to try to prepay for the rest of the year the ones that we do activate, because we can use federal money that we have to use before December 30th if we pay for it all up front rather than trying to pay for it each month. So that's not on tonight's, but that will be coming a little bit later. So instead of paying it each month, we're probably going to try to pay the rest of the year up front once we know how many we are actually activating.
When we voted on going forward with Verizon Wireless, we did say that it was going to be 3 months and then month to month after that. Are we still doing that?
That's the current plan, but we're going to ask them if we can pay those month to month upfront and not wait.
Is there someone else talking? But
You get the response, Julio?
yeah, I just want to clarify. So we will be a month to month in case another company comes in and says we can do better. Is that correct? So we pay up front for the year, and then next year we need to do it again. We won't be tied down to Verizon if something else comes up, right?
I could be wrong. I understand those MiFi devices belong to the company that you bought them from. So like I have a MiFi from AT&T. I think I have to keep service with AT&T.
That's correct.
Yeah.
But I think what Julio's saying is that we're not tied to Verizon specifically. So at the end of this 3, 5 months or the year, we don't have to just go with them. We can do away with the MiFi if say AT&T wants to give us a better plan, if we continue this distance learning stuff for the future years out or months out, whatever.
But then we'd have to buy the devices all over again, which is
correct.
Entry.
Is that possible? Yes. Is it going to happen? Most likely not.
We might not have to buy them. Sometimes they'll say, "Here's the device. Just pay for the monthly service." So, I'm just saying, let's be open to other options.
If I guess a lot of other things in Twitter.
Well, I was just gonna say I appreciate the thinking not pay ahead of time, but if we don't need them, I don't know. I'm not ready yet to call it quits for the whole school year and say that, we're going to pay the MiFis ahead through June. I'm hoping we only need half of them or something. As,
I don't
family
think,
stay home.
I don't think month to month is all under CRS, but could be wrong.
Again, that'll be a discussion we bring back to you. That's not one that we necessarily have to have and finish tonight.
Thank you.
Mr.
Tiffany,
White,
you
I'll have more questions about that if you can reach out to me, please.
Sure. Yeah.
Thank you, Julio. Tiffany, do you want to go to do your amendment?
Yeah, what is the dollar amount? I'm trying to find them in here.
It's $235,530.
Okay. Okay, I moved to the agenda pending the removal of the NG contract for $235,530, I believe you said.
31.
$31. $235,531.
Okay. Is there a second to that motion?
I second the motion.
Thank you. So motion is made and seconded. Any further discussion on that?
John, you mentioned you had questions also. Did you get yours answered?
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't part of the vote at the time. I was following the issue. I think we're doing the proper thing, but just putting pressure back on NG because that was clearly my understanding was this was going to be no net cost to the district. And it's got to be some language in there determining one way or the other. And even if there isn't, I think NG has some obligations and some perception issues based upon what was presented and the discussions, at least that I heard, that they participated in.
Thank you, John. Any further discussion? Okay, seeing none, we'll call for the vote, please. And you'll correct that, right, Leslie?
Yes, I will.
Thank you, ma'am. Motion carries 5-0. Tiffany, do you happen to have the list of the donations?
Yes. The board would like to thank the following for their donations: West Air Gas, Dorothy Bazzini, Alan Stanos Farms, Tire World Car Care Center, North Ely Apartments, Roger Wood Trust, Burroughs Family Orchards, Martin and Peggy Reyes, Stephen Blair, Justin Rayner Vandenberg, S.R. Blair, Apiaries, Kathy Bishop, Barbara Burroughs, and Brian Stelton, and the Voris family. Thank you for your contributions.
Thank you, Tiffany. And board, I do apologize. I took a gamble with Tiffany. I apologize in advance, okay? We'll move on then to the action agenda 14.01, credential waiver. Mr. Calderon, welcome.
President Lopez, under the provisions of old regulations from the Commission on Teacher Credentialing, the Board of Trustees must take action on each request for a variable term waiver. The Commission on Teacher Credentialing requires that waivers be requested for individuals not fully credentialed in a specific area. The district's practice is not to request waivers except in areas where there is a shortage of available candidates. This year, we are requesting one waiver in the area of Punjabi. There's a description below of the employee that this affects, and the superintendent recommends the Board of Trustees approve the waiver as submitted for the 2021 school year.
I move to approve the waiver.
I'll second the motion.
Motion been made and seconded. Any further discussion on that?
I just want to say I can offer Punjabi to not only the students in Livingston, but perhaps others throughout our district with distance learning.
This is the year.
Thank you, Ms. Ham.
I agree. Thank you.
Yes. All right, then we'll call for the vote, please. Motion carries 5-0. Move on to item 14.02, the PIPs. Mr. Calderon.
Yes, President Lopez, trustees must take action on each request for a provisional internship permit, normally called a PIP. Initial issuance of these documents began July 1st of 2005 and replaced emergency permits. The Commission on Teacher Credentialing requires that provisional internship permits be requested for individuals not fully credentialed in a specific area, but meet certain criteria. The district's practice is to request PIPs where there is a shortage of available candidates that have not met the subject matter competence, but are pursuing a teacher credential. At this time, we're requesting one PIP in special education, mild moderate disabilities. This is the only document that these individuals are eligible for. And again, the description of the candidate is right there. The superintendent recommends the Board of Trustees approve the provisional internship permit as submitted for the 2021 school year.
I move to approve.
Thank you.
I second the motion.
Motion been made and seconded. Any further discussion on that? Okay, seeing none, we'll call for the vote, please. Motion carries 5-0. Move on to 14.03, the Education Protection Account and public hearing. Dr. Weimer, welcome back.
Thank you. One of the requirements when Proposition 30 was passed by the voters on November 6, 2012, was adding Article 13, Section 36 to the Constitution, creating in the general fund an education protection account, was to have a public hearing. Another requirement for the EPA is to have a resolution adopted. We have the resolution here attached, and we will need to have a public hearing. What this does is it says $10,341,484,000 of our LCFF funding must be spent according to the requirements of the EPA guidelines, which basically means we cannot use it for administrative costs or administrative salaries. We use it completely for teacher salaries. So it is all for instruction. And so we have to pass a resolution that we are using that money for teacher salaries. The superintendent recommends the Board of Trustees adopt Resolution 01-20 for the Education Protection Account and conduct a public hearing. This is something that we do annually.
Okay, it is 7:47, Mr. Rohrbach. I will go ahead and open up the public hearing on the Education Protection Account Act. Are there any public comments, Mr. Rohrbach? None? Okay, thank you.
Been submitted.
Okay, thank you. Then we'll go ahead and close the public hearing at 7:48, Mr. Rohrbach. And now I'll entertain a motion, please.
I'll move to approve.
Thank you.
I second the motion.
Motion been made and seconded. Any further discussion on this? Seeing none, we'll call for the vote, please. Thank you, Dr. Weimer. Motion carries 5-0. Move on to 14.04, approval of the district calendar for 2020-21. And Mr. Calderon, welcome back.
Yeah. President Lopez, thank you. As previously discussed at the board meeting on July 29th, the proposed calendar moves the start date of school to August 19th. The adjustment to the start date will allow for the district to prepare for the distance learning environment with teacher training and the disbursement of MiFis for students. Earlier, Dr. Weimer kind of went over the changes. I'd be happy to go over them again if you'd like. Otherwise, the superintendent recommends the Board of Trustees adopt the proposed district calendar for 2020-21.
Okay. I move to adopt the calendar.
Thank you, Aaron.
I'm
I'll
learning.
I'll second the motion.
Thank you. All right, Aaron, go ahead.
Sorry. My understanding is historically the calendars are coordinated between districts. And so I guess my question here is where this is different versus other schools. And I think the differences are that our kids will have February 12th off, but others will not. And then
Yes.
we will not have the 18th and 19th of February, but other districts will. Is that, no.
Possibly. I don't know what others have done. I know that there's been delays in other districts, but given the time constraints, there wasn't an opportunity to go out there and compare calendars. I think everybody's just kind of scrambling. We knew what was in front of us in terms of needing that extra time to make sure that the school year started off in a great fashion. What we did is we tried to take back the days, one of the interests of several of our stakeholders was not to expand or not increase the school year. They still wanted to be out by the first week of June. So we found days within the calendar. So yes, we are talking, probably we're not going to be in agreement on November 23rd and 24th. We're probably not going to be in agreement on December 18th. And then we're not going to be in agreement potentially on February 17, 18, and 19. And then, like you said, the 12th. So,
okay.
But again, if most people are at home doing distance learning, it won't cause a disruption. February might, everything else is going to be within that first semester.
Yeah, and if I can just follow up on that, it's not that we didn't try. You're right, we do sit down and we usually agree 2 or 3 years out on calendars. I reached out to our feeder districts and they were not interested in a delay. You know, I've been talking about that for the last month before it happened, and we felt it was important for our district, and just due to the circumstances.
I think we're just going to be a little out of alignment this year due to the special circumstances, and we'll be back in line again next year.
Yeah, we currently have a 3-year cycle. This was supposed to be year 1 that you voted on last year, and here we are having to change it. But there won't be a problem with the next 2 years.
Let's hope. All right. So we can go back to the screen now, Leslie? Or who's controlling it?
Leslie is.
Thank you. All right. Is there a motion on the approval?
I already moved.
I'm sorry. I apologize. You're right. Thank you. You caught me. All right. Any further discussion on that? All right. Seeing none, we'll call for the vote, please. And the motion carries 5-0. Thank you very much, Ralph. Move on to item 15, the superintendent's report. Mr. Peterson.
Thank you, President Lopez. First of all, I want to welcome our new employees to the MUHSD family. You are now employed by a high-performing, progressive, and collaborative district. Welcome. I want to thank Cabinet for their presentations this evening. I think it's important for the board and the community to see how this is going to affect each stakeholder group and to really see that perspective. Usually July, and I've already talked about this, but I'm going to say this over and over. I've said it at previous meetings. Usually July is a quiet month around the district office, but there was all sorts of activity this year, going from one plan to another on the drop of a hat, you know, with our ever-changing outlook. Our administration, our classified, and our teachers unions have all stepped up to this challenge. I just wanted to be clear how much we thank them and appreciate the attitude. Mr. Pust said it all. I really don't need to add anything on the MOU. I just want to say we appreciate DTA's efforts in creating a product we can be proud of. And thank you to both negotiating teams. The new year will look and feel very different from the spring. There is structured, synchronous instruction scheduled for the morning hours and asynchronous and more flexible built-in time for the afternoons. Bell schedules across the district will be relatively similar, just shortened to 30-minute blocks where students are seeing their teachers, attending all of their classes each day. During the afternoon, teachers have time for student outreach, planning, and collaboration, and they're going to need to do all of those things. Attendance will be taken unlike the spring, and grading will happen unlike the spring. It will feel as much like regular school as we possibly can in this virtual setting. We have supports in place for student services, technology issues, and academic and social emotional counseling. We have been very clear with the entire MUHSD community that students' social emotional health needs to be a priority for everyone. Every site will have a referral process and parents can call to receive assistance at any time. Our activities directors will play a key role in enriching the online community and the virtual events and social media activities. Our athletic directors and fall sports coaches will do their best to keep students motivated to stay in shape for the postponed season. Counselors and student support will provide the same services just virtually. I want to be clear. Things are not going to be perfect. There's going to be mistakes made and we will learn from them. Parents, students, and staff need to be patient as we all learn how to deliver instruction through distance learning. We remain committed to providing the best educational experience for our students in the worst of circumstances. Everyone has done a great job to prepare. We are as prepared as possible for our first day, and it is rapidly approaching. I want to wish everyone a great 2020-21 school year and remind people that we are MUHSD and we will get through this with a positive attitude. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Peterson. Appreciate those comments. I move on to communication, information, future agenda items, trustees. And looking at my window, I'm going to start on the top right. Julio, you're first.
All right, thank you. So I also want to welcome all the new employees. What a way to start your employment with Merced Union High School District. It's going to be a great experience, and you're only going to it's only going to get better from there, hopefully. I also want to thank all the staff, certified and classified for all that they do, and they will continue to do, and adjust to whatever the year brings. It will, like Alan said, it will be, it's new, so it will be a learning curve, but I hope that we all keep positive on doing what's best for the students. That's my way of thinking. Is always students first, staff, and then of course the community. And we need to do the best that we can with the decisions that we made to give the students the best education we can give them while keeping staff, students, and their families safe. So hopefully we're addressing everyone that has concerns right away. I did have one thing that I wanted to add to a future agenda item, and that is changing the way that we get public comment. I know we all got an email from someone, but I've had this in mind, and I've suggested in the past that that we do this. We got to find a way. For example, in today's one of the items, we opened it up to the public hearing, but how can they do anything? I mean, unless they had the agenda packet, they had time to look at the agenda packet in advance, but how do we open up to public hearing if there's really no one there? So I wanted to put that on a future agenda item to talk about it and see if there's something that we can do. And lastly, I just want to ask everyone, all of us, let's try and make the best out of the year with what we have going on, and you know, we're all here for the students first, so that's who we got to think about first. Of course, our safety and everyone's safety, but I want to make sure that our students are still getting an education while this is going on. Thank you.
Thank you, Julio. Mrs. Pickle?
Yes, thank you. First, I want to apologize to you, Mr. Lopez, the board, and the public for my imperfect internet connection. Also would like to clarify one point, the DTA comment and the CSEA comment. I didn't have CSEAs in front of me, but I did talk to Leslie earlier, and she was going to read that. So it was not going to go unread. I just want to make sure that clarification is there, that we would not read one and not the other. I'd also like to congratulate and welcome the new staff. You guys are really hitting the ground running, but I know you're going to do great, and you're going to have a lot of support structures in place. It is a great place to work, so I really think you're going to enjoy it. And then I also have just a question for the board. At one of our previous meetings, we had talked briefly about returning to in-person meetings, and so I was just wondering where the rest of the board members stand on that possibility.
You know, my opinion, Tiffany, I think it's a well worth discussion. Obviously, if we're expecting staff to go back to duty, you know, to do their due diligence, what's going on in the classrooms, then maybe we start to have that dialogue now and seeing that maybe we can meet in person. You know, and we've got, you know, at least 6 big facilities at our gyms that we can meet and social distance and you know, kind of do what we're doing now, but have it in person and find a way to bring the public in, you know, so that we can start change the way that we're doing things.
And even if we're not bringing the public in at this point because of the crowd restrictions, even if we're meeting, 5 of us, Alan, Leslie, maybe bring in the presenter that happens to be presenting, but still receive that comment, get that public's input, but it might help maybe with our discussions as a board to be in person.
Yeah.
That's what I would propose, not to, you know, to lessen the importance of the comment, but I know that there are very strict guidelines and concerns with a large group, so keeping that piece in place, but maybe just 7 people in one of those rooms, you know, possibly 8 with a cabinet member presenting, wouldn't be unrealistic.
If I can comment, Mr. Lopez. we just need to keep in mind the quality of the digital connection as we talk about this. It works right now because we're using Zoom and we're all in different rooms. When you put everyone in one room, you can't use Zoom. We would have to go to like a Facebook Live type setting, and that's going to cut down on the quality because a Facebook Live gives a wide angle shot, and there's not going to be a way to, we don't have the capability of zooming in on everybody's face and comment, every time they make a comment at the microphone. So just, there's lots of things to think through before we make that decision.
Yeah, well, maybe we can Tony's input and see if there's a way that we might be able to do it. Not worrying about the Zoom, but just being able to maybe have some better discussion.
I agree with you, Tiffany. If we're asking the staff to go in, then we should, but also I think it should only be the board members and maybe Leslie and Alan, of course, and everyone else can be somewhere else, but there are other options. I mean, I see the Merced County Board of Supervisors meetings online, and it seems like that's working for them. They're able to do that. I don't know what they use, but we can look into that. City of Livingston does something similar as well. So, I mean, we can look at options for us to be there, but still have the public view via some type of online platform.
Thank you. John or Aaron, any comment on that topic?
No, I'm open to whichever option that we end up with.
Okay, thank you, sir. Aaron?
Very fun.
Copy that. Thank you very much. Any other comments, Tiffany?
Can I mention a comment?
No, that's it.
Yes,
Thank
Sam,
you.
go ahead. Thank you, Sam. Yes.
Just, going on further on the in person, yeah, like Mr. Peterson was saying, either we have one static shot, the audio, because we'd have to be so far back to include everyone, the audio wouldn't be as great. And if we were going to bring in, like, say, cameras, and then that would require a switcher, we would just need more personnel into the building to operate. If we have like a Gaucho network situation, we would need Alex to come in with his crew, and that's just more that would need to be there. And then if we were to do like a hybrid of some people in person and some people, like we're doing on Zoom, that's just another, I won't say complication, but it's another potential for technical glitches to add into the fold if you're going to have a hybrid situation. So just different aspects to be aware of.
Yeah, I concur with that, Sam. But these are times where we're all learning. We're asking teachers to learn different platforms. That maybe we start to obviously start to model that also and become a part of that conversation that we're asking teachers to do also. So I do appreciate the input. Thank you, guys. John?
Yeah, we've had a lot of challenges behind us. When I say us, I think the board probably has the easiest job by far of what everybody else is going through, and a lot of challenges in front of us. I know a lot of competent, very dedicated teachers that are really frustrated and struggling, and I can't even imagine having to do what they're being asked to do right now, but they're all giving it their best. I wanted to thank all those that reached out to us the last couple of weeks. So there's been some uncertainty. There was a lot of emails, a lot of voicemails, couldn't return everything. And it's a weird time when there's, negotiations going on and the effects of what we're going through. But I think now everything's out, and I hope people are relieved, and a lot of their individual situations can be worked out, and we can get on with the student learning. For me, I'd be very interested to understand how in the next month or maybe after that, how we're going to get a realistic check-in with all the stakeholders having input. And when I say stakeholders, parents, kids, teachers, administrators, IT, not interested in the politics of it, interested in the actually how it's working and what the feedback is, and see if there's any types of adjustments that we can make and be better with. Of course, I think we all discussed at the last couple of meetings, our goal is to get the kids back in school physically as soon as possible. And I hope that's sooner than later, so that we can put this behind us and get back to the way things should be and need to be. Appreciate everybody's time and effort. And it appears nobody ran against me, so I think you guys are stuck with me for 4 more years. So I don't know if that's good or bad, but it's a fact. So,
Well,
all right.
If you're unopposed, John, congratulations, man.
Yeah. Okay. I think. All right. That's all I have.
All righty, buddy. Miss Ham.
Yes, Mr. Lopez, President Lopez. Thank you. John, those were very good sentiments. I appreciate them. And I just want to wish everyone the best of luck this week, or I guess it's next week, as students, parents, all of our certificated and classified and just administrative, everybody. I know, I just hope it goes well for everyone. I especially want to thank Tim Pust and B. McCutcheon for all of their efforts and working so closely with the district. And as Alan said, we are MUHSD and we will be positive and we will find a way forward through this. I do want to add, if possible, to the agenda next week. I would love for us to talk about how we might be able to open some of our facilities to the rest of our community. For instance, and yes, I am an aquatics family. The pools here in Merced are very, very limited. And if you happen to be in high school and you can start training with your high school, fantastic. If you are not in high school, you have no option to swim right now. So our skimmers program, which has been around, I think it's been around more than 50 years. I'll just say that, right? Those kids have nowhere to go right now. And I think all of our elementary and middle school kids don't have places to practice, to run around on a field. So I would like for us to talk about what that might look like in the midst of COVID, making sure that our high school students have access to our outdoor facilities first and foremost, but how can we help our community as well?
Mrs. Ham, if I can comment quickly, you need to tell the skimmers to contact, have them contact Mr. Weimer, and he can put them in contact with the proper school.
Okay.
And I don't see any reason why our facilities can't be used by outside folks, as long as the rules are followed and everybody's clear when our folks are not using them. I just don't see it as any different than any other time. The county is allowing it, so I think everyone is crystal clear that kids are getting the brunt of this, and every opportunity we can give, whether it's in the pool or outside on the field, we need to do that. So.
Great. Okay. Thank you very much. And we've had a long meeting, so I'm not going to go into great detail, but I do want to just mention, I'm really excited about a project that Emily Langdon, who's a trustee for Merced City Schools, and I are working on, we're finding volunteers to build the little free libraries. And then we have identified property owners and residents who are willing to maintain them. And we're soliciting families, businesses, organizations to host a small ribbon cutting and stock the libraries and get them going in the community so that we can have more children's books, markers, crayons, glue sticks, those things available to the kids in our community. So if anyone's interested and wants to participate, you can email me, eham@muhsd.org. Thanks.
Thank you, Erin. I did Erin's and everybody else's comments as far as, all of the hard work between our teachers, our staff, our classifieds, our cabinet, our admin teams, just everybody in general on this challenge on the challenging start to the school year. And you know, we can just go up from this point forward. So thank you guys all in advance. As we talk about the, you know, some sort of live interaction meeting, you know, I think it's one of those things where we see what other school districts are doing, what supervisors are doing, you know, that we engage in that collaboration to see what they're doing and making it work for them. I mean, we do have, you know, 10,000 plus kids that there really aren't reasons why we can't kind of mimic what they're doing to get more engagement, especially during these times until we resume to some more sense of normalcy. So if we can look into that just a little bit deeper, whether it's through the YouTube or Facebook, whatever that may be, you know, I think those are options that we can investigate and see what's going on. I do want to welcome once again all of the brand new teachers and wish them well tomorrow as part of their induction program. And finally, to all of the trustees, if you have not yet completed your flip grid video to introduce yourself to the induction people for tomorrow morning's training, I encourage you to do so tonight. I know I did. I know Aaron did. I'm not sure if the others have yet, but you still have time. So Miss Carrillo sent out that email. So, you know, real simple. Introduce yourself, and then, you know, a fun fact about you, not related to teaching or your boardmanship. So other than that, thank you guys all for once again for another successful meeting. Lots of input. Hey, but you know what? This is what these times are bringing right now. So with that, I'll go ahead and adjourn the meeting, Mrs. Rohrback, at 8:15. Thank you all very much and have a good night.
Good evening.
Night.